What's going on, guys? My name is BasedOnImpulse and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to take a look at some weapons that you are absolutely going to want to have in your arsenal going into Destiny 2's September expansion, Beyond Light. As most of us probably know by now, sunsetting / weapon retirement begins with the release of Beyond Light, and if you don't quite know how it works, here's the TLDR. Essentially what this means for your weapons and your armor is that anything from Shadowkeep / Season of the Undying or earlier cannot be infused up to the power cap for the fall season, with some exceptions that we'll talk about later. As you can see on screen right now, things like your Pit of Heresy armor that drops Masterworked, or your spare rations that you grinded for, and yes, even your Mountaintop and your Recluse all show a maxed out power in-game at 1060, which is the Season of Arrival's power cap. But the good news is that there are several very good weapons in the game that you can earn right now that won't sunset until after the fall expansion's release. So here are 8 weapons that you absolutely need going into Beyond Light. First on our list of Beyond Light essentials, we have the Supremacy. This is the sniper rifle from the Last Wish raid, which can drop from any encounter or chest throughout the course of the entire raid. If you're someone that really can't get a team together to run the raid, I have 2 options for you. First, you can use the Wish Wall to teleport to Shurochi and then backtrack to the chest on all 3 characters each week, hoping to get lucky. The wish to teleport to Shurochi is on the screen right now. I recommend having a friend with you to stay in the raid while you swap characters, just because this will make your life a whole lot easier than having to put the code in every single time you load in. Just a time-saving thing. The second option for you is to join my Discord and come by my Twitch streams. I'm always helping people with PvE activities and doing raid Sherpas. You can find both of those links in the description below. Now, as far as the Supremacy's role goes, you're looking for a couple of very specific things to maximize the Supremacy's effectiveness. The 2 absolute requirements are the appended magazine, which boosts your magazine size from 6 to 7 shots, which doesn't sound like a lot, but is very important when you combine it with our next perk, Triple Tap. Utilizing Triple Tap alongside the 7 shots in the magazine from appended mag allows us to shoot off 10 rounds at 140 RPM before having to reload the sniper. You can see that I tested it here at the affectionately named Greg the Ogre in a Lost Sector on Titan, and I also got some damage numbers to show you. On Greg, Supremacy hits for 10,879 damage per crit without boss spec and 16,318 damage per crit with boss spec. This means that without boss spec, we're hitting a DPS value of around 16,685, and with boss spec, we're hitting 25,027 damage per second. For comparison's sake, a base Tranquility only hits a DPS value of around 9,000 damage. Overall, Supremacy is your best option for a kinetic legendary sniper moving into the fall. It's got solid DPS, it's not overly hard to acquire, and it is one of the only 2 options for a legendary kinetic sniper rifle going into Beyond Light that is not going to be sunset. The Supremacy has a power cap of 1360, meaning that it will be sunset a year from now in the summer of 2021. So guys, you should certainly be going and farming some Last Wish clears to try and get a good roll on this thing. I've been using it a lot in raids lately in place of a Mountaintop, and it's been really refreshing to use something different in the kinetic slot, and it's actually a really solid gun to use. So after you finish watching this video, go get your hands on this thing for sure. The next weapon on our list is one that I think just about everybody should definitely have, because at least for me, this is my Recluse replacement for the fall, the Last Hope sidearm reintroduced in the Season of Dawn. This weapon doesn't have as direct a path to acquire as the Supremacy does, unfortunately, because this weapon's in the general world loot pool, so it'll drop out of your Legendary and Prime engrams as well as your powerful rewards. But if you're desperate to chase it down, you could go shower Master Rahul in your Legendary Shards and pray to RNGesus, but I would suggest just playing the game like normal, and you will more than likely get a solid roll before September. At least, that's how I got mine. Now, there's a couple reasons why the Last Hope will be really good come September. Number 1, the perk pool is just overall amazing for an ag clear weapon. Your best option for a roll is absolutely above and beyond Feeding Frenzy and Multi-Kill Clip. Even though Feeding Frenzy just got nerfed, the synergy that it provides when you use it alongside Multi-Kill Clip is amazing. I have Feeding Frenzy ×5 and Multi-Kill Clip ×3 up at almost all times. If you prefer, you could also shoot for a Feeding Frenzy Rampage roll, but just be careful with that because multi-kill clip does provide a better damage bonus than Rampage does, even though Rampage is easier to proc. Rampage stacks max at 33% of your base damage, whereas multi-kill clip stacks max out at 50%. So while having Rampage ×3 up at all times is very easy and nice to have, multi-kill clip does provide you with a substantially better damage bonus for minimal extra effort. Last Hope is also an arc sidearm, and since we'll be fighting a lot of Fallen with the release of Beyond Light, we're going to need a lot of arc for those captain's shields. I do want to put a little disclaimer here though, because it's likely that we will be fighting a lot of stasis shields potentially, and currently we obviously don't have any stasis weapons. Also, since Last Hope is an energy weapon, that means that we can rock the Last Hope alongside the Supremacy that we just talked about. This makes for a very fun and very strong PvE loadout. I've been running this loadout a lot during my gardens lately, and it's been very effective. Supremacy is nice to have for those last 2 encounters for shooting eyes and for opening portals. Bungie also has a special place in their heart for giving sidearms seasonal and artifact mods, so there's potential for this weapon to take champion mods from the artifact in Season 12. This weapon will be sunset in the winter of 2020, so this really is only good to have during Season 12. But if you want to make a long-term replacement for your Recluse, you will want to check out the next weapon on the list. So if you really don't want to abandon your Recluse in the fall and still want SMG to go brrr, you'll want to get your hands on a Death Adder. This is a 900 RPM solar SMG with a gun model almost identical to that of Recluse. Bungie reintroduced this SMG with the new Dungeon Prophecy, meaning that this weapon's power caps at 1360 and that it will be sunset in the summer of 2021. And yes, the only way to obtain the new version of this weapon is by playing the Prophecy Dungeon, but honestly that's a good thing because it means you can farm for the role you want, because the Prophecy Dungeon allows you to continue rerunning for different roles on all your drops for that week. As you can see here, the perk pool really isn't all that sexy for PvE, so you for sure want Feeding Frenzy, and then in your second column, I'd personally shoot for Quick Draw or Disruption Break. Kind of pick and choose your own poison on that second column. Personally, I would definitely recommend getting a Last Hope over a Death Adder, mainly for the fact that Death Adder can't roll with any damage perks. So between Last Hope and Death Adder, it's a choice between better perks or a longer lasting weapon, and my recommendation for you is to chase a Last Hope, mainly due to the fact that we will probably be getting some awesome and unique weapons with Beyond Light to quickly replace that in Season 13. I still wanted to include the Death Adder though, because I know how much everyone, including myself, loves Recluse, and some people may want to preserve the feeling of using that weapon going forward even after it is sunset. Now we've got a weapon that is a whole hell of a lot of fun to use, and my god is it strong. Falling Guillotine. You can get this amazing sword from rank 30 in your season pass, and you can then target farm for a roll on this weapon with the arrival focused Umbral engrams. You do have to reach rank 45 to also obtain the Cold Denial Pulse Rifle before being able to focus for the specific engram, but until then you can just use the pyramid focused engrams. The pool's a little bigger on these versus the arrival focused engrams, but until you hit rank 45 and get Cold Denial, this is your best route for farming it. This weapon does phenomenal DPS against champions and bosses, but keep in mind that at the time of making this video, the sword is bugged and doing a bit more damage than intended, but even after that's fixed, this is still going to be a phenomenal heavy weapon to have at your disposal. The absolute god roll that you're looking for on this sword is Jagged Edge, Swordmaster's Guard, Relentless Strikes, Whirlwind Blade, and an Impact Masterwork. Now, if you aren't a perfectionist and just want a roll that will be strong and you're not chasing the perfect roll, you really only need Relentless Strikes and Whirlwind Blade. This sword, just like Death Adder, will last you until the summer of 2021 with its max power cap sitting at 1360. Now, guys, you could go and try to get the reissued Steel Sybil with Relentless and Whirlwind. The damage on that would still be solid. It's a lot simpler to just go run your normal activities and hope for a drop. But what this sword can do compared to that one, oh boys, it's not even close. You're going to need a good roll on this thing come Beyond Light. I also highly encourage you to get your hands on the seasonal mod Lucent Blade, which you can pick up from the Prismatic Recaster whenever it's on sale. The mod on sale changes daily, so make sure to just keep checking back there until you're able to get your hands on it. It's dirt cheap, it only costs you a few mod components, and let me explain why this thing is a necessity. This mod gives you a straight up boost to sword damage when you do damage with a sword while charged with light, which, yes, is great, but also look at that secondary perk on your screen. Greatly increases the charge rate for your equipped swords. You know what that means, guys? You can be a Beyblade more often. You can have your heavy spin attack up much more frequently and be doing way more damage just by having this one mod equipped on an arc piece of armor. So get your hands on Falling Guillotine and the Lucent Blade mod as soon as possible. Now we've arrived at the last legendary weapon on our list, and Crucible players are best friends with this one right now. And yes, I am actually recommending this as a PvE weapon going into Beyond Light. The Dire Promise can be a very solid PvE hand cannon. As most of us know by now, you go about getting this the same way you can get Last Hope. Spam shards at Rahul or pray for a world drop. It's got pretty solid ad clear abilities, and just like Last Hope, Bungie loves giving hand cannons seasonal champion mods. We've had Unstoppable and Overload hand cannons multiple times now, and I'm pretty sure we had anti-barrier hand cannons at 1.2, but regardless, PvE and PvP players alike should be rallying around this weapon. I'm not going to get into the PvP roles as I want to save that for a separate video, but for PvE, the role you want is Overflow and Swashbuckler. Activating Overflow gives this hand cannon 28 shots in the magazine, and you can get Swashbuckler ×5 procced just by getting one melee kill. This is an awesome perk combo to have at your disposal. And Osmosis is also a little bit of a sleeper pick that may be able to shine on some older weapons going into Beyond Light. Why? Well, we're going to be running into a lot of stasis shielded enemies potentially, and we won't necessarily have a lot of weapons with the stasis element on them to help deal with those shields in the early days of Beyond Light. But with Osmosis, all you have to do is toss your grenade with your stasis subclass equipped, and boom, now you've got a stasis weapon without having to grind one out yet in Beyond Light. This weapon also will last you a good bit of time, as it's not going to be sunset until the spring of 2021 with a power cap of 1310. So I would certainly suggest trying to get a PvE roll for your Dire Promise, as it could end up being a very good endgame option in September. Now we're moving into the last three spots on our list, all of which are held by exotic weapons. I picked these three exotics in particular because they're very strong in the current sandbox, and also the way that you go about acquiring them is being moved out of the live game and into the Destiny content vault with the release of Beyond Light. So if you don't have these exotics yet, I would make them top priorities going forward in the season, because we don't know if/when we'll be able to reacquire them. Also, just a quick disclaimer, at the time of making this video, exotics has not been announced to be receiving the sunsetting treatment in any form. I don't know if this will be done in the future. I do think it's possible, so just keep that in mind going forward. Our first exotic on the list is one of the most unique and also most coveted exotics in the game, Anarchy. This is the raid exotic from the Scourge of the Past raid, meaning that it will be unobtainable when September rolls around. Bungie has also recently buffed the drop rates on Anarchy and 1000 Voices to incrementally increase up to 50% at 20 clears, so chasing this thing is a breeze now. Again, if you're having trouble finding a team, hopping in my Discord or Twitch stream is a great way to get some help. This weapon gives you phenomenal damage over time on bosses, with a prime example of that being the Kel Echo in the Prophecy Dungeon. Mountaintop and Anarchy is some of the best DPS you can have in the entire game. And while Mountaintop may be going away, we talked about the Supremacy at the beginning of this video, which is a very solid replacement in the kinetic slot as far as damage is concerned. Anarchy is an absolute requirement in the current PvE sandbox, and I wouldn't imagine much changing with that in Beyond Light. So since Scourge of the Past, we assume, will no longer be playable in Year 4, go get your hands on this weapon before it is gone. The next exotic weapon on our list comes from Io, and it is one that you absolutely need to get your hands on before the end of the season. You probably know where I'm going with this. The Whisper of the Worm has always been a phenomenal weapon throughout the course of Destiny 2, and I don't imagine that this will ever change. It hits like a truck and fully reloads the magazine on 3 crits. The weapon can be obtained by completing the mission The Whisper on Io within the 20-minute time limit. Not only is the weapon great, but this is a mission that every Destiny player should experience. The catalyst for this weapon makes it even better, giving the weapon the perk Whispered Breathing, which boosts range and precision damage the entire time while zoomed in. Obtaining and finishing the catalyst for this weapon is not quite as simple as getting the drop and getting some kills though. You need to complete the Whisper mission on heroic difficulty and open all 5 secret chests in the mission for 3 weeks. This is account wide, so doing it on each character will not get you bonus progress. This is something that, again, I'm more than willing to help shepherd people through. Going through this effort though is 100% worth it, as the Whisper Catalyst is still one of the best weapons in the game for DPS, and is also still a commonly used weapon for more current raids like Last Wish and Garden, both of which will still be around in the fall, dropping higher level loot. This is a weapon that every endgame player should have in their arsenal. Now we've come to the 8th and final spot on our list. The Outbreak Perfected will likely be unobtainable coming this fall, as its starting step is located on Titan, and the location to start the mission to earn the weapon is located at the farm, both of which will be going away. The Outbreak Perfected isn't an absolute requirement to have for Beyond Light, but I would highly recommend getting it in case Bungie ever does give us the primary weapon buff that we've been begging for. And while Outbreak may not necessarily be meta like it used to be, it's still a solid gun that's fun to use to mix up your raiding experiences in the game every now and then. Much like Whisper, this weapon is obtained by completing the 0-hour mission in less than 20 minutes, and the Catalyst, along with progression of the Catalyst, is awarded through 0-hour heroic completions and puzzles. The Catalyst perk increases the damage done by Steven nanites and spawns additional nanites when an enemy is killed by the Outbreak. The 0-hour mission that you must complete is, much like Whisper, something that every Guardian should experience while playing this game. It's a fast-paced, hectic time trial where you get to shoot Fallen and run from Trevor. If you haven't completed 0-hour yet, you'll become well acquainted with Trevor when you do. And there you go, guys. Those are 8 phenomenal weapons that you should have in your arsenal as a PvE player to be well equipped to take on Aramis in September. If you enjoyed the video, a positive rating and a subscription would be greatly appreciated, as well as sharing with your friends if you found the video helpful. That helps me grow more than anything. Again, if you need help with anything PvE related in Destiny, whether it be raids, dungeons, nightfalls, exotic quests, or anything else, be sure to join my Discord and also come by my Twitch stream. At the time of posting this, I'm live right now on Twitch doing PvE help, so be sure to stop by if you need help with anything in this video. Links to both my Discord and Twitch can be found in the description box below. So with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys again very soon.